There's something you've been putting off. You know the one. Not the small stuff. The thing that actually matters to you. That you keep finding very good reasons not to do this week. The conversation you haven't had. The work you haven't shown anyone. The door you keep walking past. And every time you get close to it, something in you says, not yet. Not like this. Maybe later. That something has a name. It's fear. And here's what I've come to believe about it. I won't tell you to be fearless. Feel the fear and do it anyway is a nice line on a poster. And it's useless at 3 in the morning when the fear is real and specific and it's about your actual life. I want to tell you something more useful and a little stranger. Your fear isn't lying to you. It's just terrible at the one job you keep handing it. You've been using it as a compass to tell you which way to go, and it's a bad compass. But it's an extraordinary map. Stay with me. By the end, you'll be able to pick up a fear, turn it over, read it, and know the difference. And you can test every word of this against your own life, which is the only test I trust. You don't have to believe anything I believe. So, compass and a map. We use the words like they're the same tool. They're not. A compass does exactly one thing. It points. It gives you a direction and says go. It doesn't know what's between you and there. A river, a cliff, a road, a wall. It just points. A map does something completely different. It doesn't tell you where to go at all. It shows you what's actually there, the terrain, where the drop is, where you're standing. Now watch what fear does. Fear's needle swings one way, away from the threat, toward the exit, never toward the thing that matters. Nearly every fear, the same swing, and almost instantly, that's its whole talent. That's why it's a bad compass. Not because it's wrong to feel it, because it only knows one direction, and the direction is away. Navigate your life by that needle, and you'll walk away from every hard thing you meet. And here's the quiet cost. The hard things and the meaningful things tend to live on the same street. Follow the away needle long enough, and you don't just escape the danger, you escape the life. So if it's such a bad compass, why not just ignore it? Throw the damn thing out. Because the same signal that makes a lousy compass makes a remarkable map. Fear is pointing at something real. It's just not your job to obey the direction. It's your job to read the terrain that's lit up. You've heard me say a version of this before. A feeling is a signal, not an order. Fear is the loudest version of that rule there is. It isn't the enemy, and it isn't the boss. It's information arriving as a feeling, the way weather arrives in the sky. And you are the sky, not the weather. The move isn't to become the storm, and it isn't to run from it. It's to look at what the storm is telling you about the ground. So let's actually read it. When fear shows up, it's almost always pointing at one of 3 things. Same feeling, 3 completely different meanings. And most of the trouble in a life comes from reading one of them as another. The first is a warning, real danger, out there, now. The step really is a ledge. The person in front of you really is dangerous. Your hand pulls off the hot pan before you've even finished the thought. This is the oldest fear there is, and it's the one thing fear is genuinely good at. It's why our ancestors lived long enough to have us. When the map reads warning, the move is simple. You honor it. and you honor it fast. The honest catch, and you can watch this in yourself, is that this fear can't actually tell whether the ledge is real or just looks like one in the dark. It fires the same either way. So you trust it enough to stop, and then you look. The second is a wound. And this is the one that quietly runs most people's lives without them ever noticing. The fear isn't about what's in front of you. It's about something behind you. An old rejection, a time you were small and it genuinely wasn't safe. Something today merely rhymes with it and the alarm goes off at full volume. For a threat that isn't in the room anymore. Someone says, "Can we talk?" 4 ordinary words, and your stomach is already going before they've said anything else. Nothing is wrong, but something once was. You go quiet, and it isn't this room, it's a much older one. When the map reads wound, following the compass is exactly backwards. The exit isn't away from the thing, it's toward understanding it. The honest trouble is that this one is the hardest to spot in the moment because it feels identical to a real warning. There's one question that starts to separate them. Is the danger actually here, right now, or am I feeling an old one? The third is the strange one, and I'll flag it plainly as more of a question than a fact. Sometimes fear is a signpost. You're afraid precisely because the thing matters, the work you'd be judged for, the love that might not come back, the honest sentence you can't unsay once it's out. Cowardice and meaning tend to guard the same gate. You'll notice you rarely feel this particular fear about things you don't care about. When the map reads signpost, the fear isn't marking a cliff, it's marking a threshold. And I want to be careful here, because this is the one the internet loves to oversell. Do the thing that scares you. That is genuinely dangerous advice. If the map actually read warning, not every fear is growth in disguise. Some cliffs are just freaking cliffs. So I offer this reading, I don't prescribe it. Warning, wound, signpost. Here's the whole point in one line. The compass can't tell them apart. It points away at all 3. Only the map can. So which is yours? The fear you're feeling right now about the thing you've been avoiding. You might already know. You might need to sit with it a while. You might even find it's a mix of 2. And that's allowed. Let me make it concrete because this is easy to nod along to and hard to actually catch in yourself. Think about the last time someone new started to get close to you. A friendship or more. And right as it got real, something in you pulled back, went quiet, found a reason to keep them at arm's length. Now, was that a warning or a wound? Because it feels exactly the same from the inside. Maybe this person really wasn't safe, and the fear was reading the room correctly. Or maybe the last person hurt you, and this fear isn't about the person in front of you at all. It's about the one behind you. Same racing heart, same instinct to leave, 2 completely different maps. If you can't tell which, you'll do one of 2 things. Trust it blindly and maybe walk away from someone good because someone else, years ago, wasn't. Or override it and maybe walk straight back toward the exact kind of harm the alarm was built to catch. Neither one is reading, both are just obeying. One obeys the fear, the other obeys the urge to look brave. The reading is the pause in between. Let me tell you where I misread mine for years. I grew up around ambition. Everyone I knew wanted to make a lot of money and just as badly wanted you to see that they had. The real estate, the houses, and I tried, young. I went straight at it. And I crashed and burned, more than once. Not because the ideas were bad, because I trusted the wrong people, business partners. It cost me years, and it cost me money I didn't have. And the people around me had a verdict about that. 25, not a millionaire. Failure. Now pay attention to this part, because it's the whole point. That didn't touch me. I learned very early not to give a damn what people thought of me, and that lesson held. The verdict wasn't the wound. The betrayal was. And I want to be careful how I say this next part, because I'm not here to blame anybody. The betrayal hurt. Of course it did. But that's not what hurt most. What hurt most was that I let it happen. Because here's the part I don't usually say out loud. My instincts were telling me something was off, early, more than once. And I overrode them, naively. The alarm was doing its job. I'm the one who turned it down. So I took the lesson and I still run it today. Trust but verify. Everything transparent. Everything on paper. Not because people are bad, but because clarity removes the temptation before it ever has a chance to show up. Take away the room where a bad intention could live, and it mostly doesn't. That way everybody stays friends. And you don't have to fall out with anybody. And that one did something quiet and enormously expensive. For years afterward, I said no. Good opportunities with, I'm fairly sure, good people. I didn't examine any of them. I felt the alarm and I honored it every single time. Because it felt exactly like a warning. It felt like wisdom. It felt like a man who'd learned his lesson. I hadn't learned a lesson. I'd taken a wound and turned it into a policy. And the policy wasn't only, I won't take a chance on other people. Underneath it sat the one that actually cost me. I won't take a chance on myself. And I'd like to tell you I saw that clearly at the time. I didn't. I beat myself up for a while. Not forever. I didn't let it consume me. And then I decided I was over it. I wasn't. It just went under the surface, where it kept making decisions for me without asking my permission. So eventually I did the only thing that has ever actually worked. I sat down and faced it. Not the story about it, the thing itself, and I asked, why? And when an answer came, I didn't take it, because the first answer is almost always the comfortable one. So I asked, why again? And again, until I got to something I didn't enjoy looking at. Nobody wants to blame themselves. That's the whole difficulty. But intellectual and emotional integrity, being honest about what's true, and honest about what you feel, especially when neither one of them flatters you, that isn't a nice quality to have. It's the entry fee. You don't grow around that. You grow through it. And notice what was waiting at the bottom. I'd had a real warning once and read it as nothing. Then I'd had a wound and read it as a warning. The same feeling both times, wrong both times, in opposite directions. And you want to know how deep a policy like that runs? Even after all of that, it took every ounce of energy I had to start doing this. And when I finally decided to, I sat there and seriously considered using AI voice instead of my own. Think about what that is. The one thing people have told me my whole life I'm actually fairly good at. And my first instinct was to hand it to a machine so I wouldn't have to stand behind it. The voice in my head said, who the hell wants to listen to me talk about anything? That's not a warning. There's no cliff there. Nobody gets hurt if I speak. That was the old room, at full volume, in a new one. So I read it, and then I did it anyway. Not because I pushed through the fear, because I finally looked at the map and saw what it actually said. You're hearing the results. So, the obvious objection, and after a story like that one, I can hear it even louder because I've said it to myself. So you're telling me to override my fear, push through it? No. The opposite. Overriding is just the compass with a brave face on. Still not reading anything, just forcing the needle the other way and calling it courage. I'm asking you to read before you move. Sometimes the map says, warning. And the bravest, wisest thing to do in the world is to not do the damn thing. Stepping back from a real ledge isn't cowardice, it's freaking literacy. And I won't hand you the clean version. The one where every fear turns into a gift if you just reframe it hard enough. Some fears are grief wearing armor. The loss already happened, and the fear is what's left standing guard over it. Some are warnings you'll be very glad you kept. Reading the map doesn't make the terrain gentle. It just means you stop walking across it blind. So here's the practice, and it's almost insultingly small, just the way I like it. The next time fear shows up about something that matters, don't obey it, and don't fight it. Just stop and ask it one question. Are you a warning, a wound, or a signpost? That's the whole practice. You don't have to get the answer right the first time. The asking already breaks the spell, because the second you ask, you've stopped being the frightened one and become the one reading the map, the sky, not the weather. And then, a few roads, none of them mine to choose for you. If it's a warning, honor it, step back, no shame in it. If it's a wound, turn toward it, gently. How you actually do that is a whole other video, and honestly a whole practice. But even just naming it old instead of now is the first foot of ground you take back. If it's a signpost, take one small step toward the thing, not a leap, a step, and let the fear come along, because it's going to anyway, and that turns out to be fine. Which road is yours? I genuinely don't know. You do, or you're about to. We started with the thing you've been walking away from. You've had a compass in your hand this whole time, and it only ever knew one word. Now you've got the map too. So, not what are you afraid of? That's the compass question. Here's the map question. What have you been calling a cliff that was only ever a threshold?